Stop wasting your time now. A life-changing motivational story. In the fast-paced world we live in today, we all find ourselves struggling with time. It often feels like there's never enough of it, and we constantly push things to tomorrow. But what if I told you that one small change in how you approach time could transform your life forever? This motivational story about Ethan is not just about a student's failure. It's about a deeper understanding of time, and how we often take it for granted, missing out on the true potential it holds. Ethan's struggle. Ethan was a boy everyone admired. He was intelligent, quick to grasp new concepts, and had the potential to excel in whatever he did. His teachers often praised him, and his peers looked up to him for his academic prowess. But despite his natural abilities, Ethan faced a critical problem. He misused his time. Ethan believed that life was meant for enjoyment. Like so many of us, he was caught in the illusion that time was something to be saved, something that could always be used later. Days spent gaming on his phone, chatting with friends, and engaging in pointless distractions seemed harmless at first. But as time passed, Ethan's grades began to slip. What once seemed like an endless stretch of time became a ticking clock of regret. Despite repeated attempts by his parents to explain the importance of time, Ethan couldn't understand. Time, to him, felt like a resource that would always be available, that could be postponed to the future. His future plans? He would worry about those later. It wasn't until the day his exam results were announced that the truth hit him hard. The turning point. The exam results were a wake-up call for Ethan. He had failed miserably, scoring far below his potential. His teachers, who once praised him for his intelligence, now looked at him with disappointment. His friends, who had once admired his brilliance, started distancing themselves. Ethan was devastated. He couldn't understand how this happened, and why he, a student who was always praised for his sharp mind, had failed so terribly. In his despair, Ethan sought solace in Grandpa Henry, a wise elder of the village. His grandfather had always been a source of wisdom, known for his calm demeanor and life lessons. Sitting by Grandpa Henry's side, Ethan poured out his heart, asking, "Grandpa, I don't understand. Why did I fail this time? I know I'm a good student. What went wrong?" The Wise Mentor's Story. Grandpa Henry listened intently, a slight smile on his face as Ethan spoke. Then, in his calm voice, Grandpa Henry shared a story that would change Ethan's life forever. "Let me tell you about King Edward," Grandpa Henry began. King Edward was a ruler like no other. He had wealth beyond imagination, grand palaces, and loyal servants. He had everything anyone could ever desire. Yet, there was one thing King Edward lacked: wisdom about time. King Edward, despite his vast empire, wasted his time on trivial matters. He spent his days lounging, talking with friends, and putting off important decisions. The king was often heard saying, "I'll deal with it tomorrow." He had so many things to take care of, but always convinced himself that there was plenty of time to get to them later. This was the king's biggest mistake. One day, a sage visited the king's court and warned him, "Your Majesty, you have everything: wealth, power, a kingdom, but if you continue to waste your time, it will lead to your downfall. Time, once gone, can never be retrieved. You must use it wisely." But King Edward, blinded by his wealth and confidence, laughed off the wise mentor's warning. "I have plenty of time," he thought. "I will deal with these matters when I'm ready." Years passed, and the king's life followed a downward trajectory. His health began to fail, his kingdom weakened, and his army started losing battles. His people lost faith in him, and the once mighty king realized that his kingdom, his wealth, and his power meant nothing without time. He sought out the sage, hoping to learn how to fix his mistakes. But the sage was nowhere to be found. Time had slipped away, and the king regretted his procrastination. In the end, he realized that time was the true treasure, not the gold or jewels that he had accumulated. Ethan sat in silence, reflecting on Grandpa Henry's story. For the first time, he realized the gravity of what he had been doing with his own life. He had squandered his time, much like King Edward, thinking there would always be more. But Ethan knew now that time was finite, and once it was gone, there was no getting it back. The lesson learned. Grandpa Henry, do you think I can still change my life? Is it too late for me to turn things around? Ethan asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. Grandpa Henry smiled kindly and replied, "It's never too late, son. The wheel of time never stops turning. If you start using your time wisely from today, there's no limit to what you can achieve. But remember, don't put off today's tasks for tomorrow. Procrastination is the thief of time." Ethan felt a sense of clarity that he had never experienced before. From that moment on, he made a promise to himself that he would no longer waste his time. He created a routine, set goals, and made time for what truly mattered. He started waking up early, focusing on his studies, and eliminating distractions. The transformation wasn't immediate, but it was steady. Ethan began seeing the fruits of his labor in his academic performance. In his next exam, he scored the highest in his class, a stark contrast to the failure he had faced earlier. He didn't stop there. Ethan went on to become a successful businessman, someone who not only used his time wisely but inspired others to do the same. His story became a beacon for those around him, showing them that time is not just a resource, it's the key to success. Personal reflection and conclusion. Ethan's story is a powerful reminder of how we often take time for granted. We all have goals, dreams, and ambitions, but how many of us are actually taking the steps to make those dreams a reality? Time is the one thing we can never get back, and how we choose to use it will ultimately determine our success. In my own life, I've often struggled with procrastination. Just like Ethan, we all have those moments where we push things off until tomorrow, thinking we have more time. But as I've grown older, I've come to realize that time is not an infinite resource. Every second that passes is one we can never get back. I've learned that success is not about having more time. It's about using the time we have in the best possible way. For those of you watching this, I urge you to reflect on how you're using your time. Are you wasting it on things that don't matter? Are you putting off your dreams for another day? If there's something you've been meaning to do, don't wait until tomorrow. Start today. Time is the most valuable asset we have, and how we use it will shape the future we create. If this story resonated with you, if it made you realize the importance of time in your own life, don't wait. Take control of your time and begin today. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that can help you change your life. Let's use our time wisely. Together.